But Alan, a friend of mine from the business community wants to ask you a question.
Sure.
He said, we have always been competing with Singapore, and in this case, many people feel that Singapore has done much better, and they are now opening up.
Yes.
And he wants me to ask you whether you think Hong Kong should adopt the Singaporean strategy, although, of course, that may mean not zero COVID, maybe not to open the boundary with the mainland, but that may mean that we can open up to the rest of the world because we are an international financial center, business city.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that what we should do, I mean, I've looked at Singapore, and yeah, they've done a very decent job. You know, I don't want to criticize Singapore. I mean, although they do have a lot of people dying still and whatever,
many
a lot
cases.
of infections, and a lot of infections, but they've taken the moniker, they're going to live with it because no choice, and at this point, they went ahead and they seem to be okay with it. In Hong Kong, obviously, China had a dynamic zero, right? But dynamic zero doesn't mean zero, and they've been very, but
they said it in Beijing yesterday too,
and all along, and they now call it dynamic clearing, but that's okay because zero maybe gives the wrong message. But Beijing does, and for Beijing's sake, when you have 1.4 billion people, as soon as there's an outbreak somewhere, they close the area exactly. So what they mean is
we're not like that.
The problem is it already spread through Hong Kong. We could have done it if we would have done it early, but we didn't. It spread because no one realized the extent of this virus, and which maybe they should have, because all over the world they were going through the same thing. And so it's not a question of living with it or dynamic zero or dynamic clearing, whatever. It's a question is we got to solve the problem. And basically, what I see now is originally they were going to do testing. They came out with they were going to do the quarantine testing, but our medical experts were saying no, now's not the time because it's already throughout. We don't have a place, even if you are able to see everybody who's infected
and find those people. Where can you put them?
And so obviously I think they made the right decision now to delay it if they're going to do it at all. And I think because what. Honestly, with the help from the mainland, in essence, Professor Liang Wanyan, really from Beijing, is amazing. I mean, he came here, and I've talked to a lot of the government people and whatever. He's been very, very, very helpful. He's very, very clever. He was instrumental with the Wuhan virus and whatever. So he's talking from experience. We maybe didn't have very many experienced people here, and so he's the one. He's given some very, very good suggestions, and I've talked to people in the hospital authority. I've talked to different people, and what he says now is let's concentrate on saving a lot of these older people that are dying and whatever, and so that I think, and also having private hospitals to now join in, because that's something. And before, each department within government wasn't really working together as a team. This is a time that you need everyone to work together.
Well, you talk about this mass testing, which may be postponed or whatever, and at the press conference this morning, Carrie Lam was asked, you say the schools should have earlier summer holiday so that there can be room for you to do the mass testing.
Correct.
And now you're going to postpone it to April or whatever. But actually, your plan was that to do the testing, and then in late April, the schools could come back. And now if you're going to postpone that to April, what's going to happen to the schools? I think the headmasters, the teachers, the parents are all so perplexed, because it's not as if saying, oh, we're not going to do it anymore. Oh, we may do it, but not yet. It's not top priority. Top priority is to save the elderly and the kids, which is right. But you may bring it back in April. And then the schools are going to not reopen again, April, May. What's going to happen to our kids?
Okay, but Emily, I know you like to be cynical sometimes. What I say is, in a case like this, when there's such an outbreak everywhere, you kind of day to day things change. Honestly, because there's no rule book for it, and so day to day, so you leave your options open. I do believe they've made the right decision by holding off the mass testing. If at all, if they need it, they'll do it. If they don't need it, they won't. And so with the schooling, of course, people were perplexed because their kids, listen, I've got grandkids that
studying,
studying and have to work online and everything's online, So, but it's not just here. Everywhere in the world, the schooling is the biggest problem. Look at what's going on in the U.S.
They are reopening now, although they have to wear masks.
But they're reopening because, understand, we were the laggard in the world with Omicron. Every other country already got Omicron, but we didn't. We were the last one. And what we're going through now, I've talked to Gabriel Leung, and I've talked to other people involved in it. And Hong Kong U, according to their formula, they say that we're now hit peak, that we've now peaked. And that was on the 4th of March. And we need another 5, 6, 7 days of numbers not increasing but just leveling off. Then you can say be confident that it's peaked. What happens around the world, because you can only look at what's happened in other countries, as soon as it peaks, the downtrend is very, very quickly. It moves very, very quickly. It happened everywhere. That's why U.S. has been able to open, U.K. has been able to open, and then once it peaks, because they weren't living with it when they were fighting it. No one was talking about living with it at that time. They were all fighting it and doing whatever you want to call it, dynamic clearing. Once it peaked and the infections started to go down, then they turned to the economy, because also people need jobs. You can't keep closed forever. And so that's when they came up with the term living with it. So I don't get hung up with living with it or dynamic clearing. At the right time, we'll be living with it, and China will be living with it too when they open up. So
you mentioned Professor Gabriel Leung, and also there are some other professors who have been giving advice to the administration, which are quite similar to what you said. But some of the people in LegCo, after this improved electoral process, they have been pressing the administration to do the mass testing for many weeks.
I know.
So, and then somebody immediately sent me the letter that you wrote to the Wall Street Journal in January saying, now after this is going to be big improvement. They're very good, all these people. Do you think they're helping us in LegCo? And the DAB had to apologize last night after criticizing Carrie Lam yesterday.
Listen.
What are they doing? They are supposed to be the people's representatives, Alan.
Emily, you were in LegCo for many years.
Yes, I know.
I know. So listen, I know all the people in LegCo too. Sometimes politics and enter something, and I'm not agreeing or disagreeing that what they did was right or wrong, whatever. Everyone has their own opinion. In this instance, what they did criticize and whatever, they're supposed to be representing the people of Hong Kong.
Not representing me or many of our people.
Yeah, but I understand. Listen, that's what causes. But that's why Hong Kong is Hong Kong. Everyone can believe what they want. For me, again, I just want to touch on not even LegCo, but I want to touch on the expats leaving and the reputation that I was worried that Hong Kong is losing. And when you bring up Singapore, many people saying, oh, people are moving to Singapore and Hong Kong is changing, this is not Hong Kong, whatever. I've been through this in 1997. When many people left, many people didn't trust that Hong Kong was going back to China, whatever. Many people went to Toronto, Vancouver, everywhere in the world, Australia. And 2 years later, and I know from Lang Kwai Fong, because a lot of customers started to come back after being abroad, and it wasn't really what they thought. And Hong Kong was still a better place. I believe that, yes, a lot of people are leaving because they were, in February there were 71,000 people that left, which is a lot of people, of course. But I do believe that once we open again, because China does not need another Chinese city. They need Hong Kong with one country, two systems. Hong Kong is the gateway to the West and also the gateway to the East. We're the superconductor between both. And China needs Hong Kong because they have 1.4 billion people. They don't need 7.5 million people, but they need our system.